Right, guys, we're into another of Gaz's, the Welsh farmers' investigations, but this time into fraud at the Betsi Cadwaladr University Health Board. 122 million was unaccounted for, and it was accounted for in the wrong year. And then, when they investigated it, they found out that false receipts were being made by the firm investigating it. Building work was being accounted for that hadn't been done. Medical equipment that hadn't been bought. Now, if you look at this now, 122 million, the total agricultural budget in Wales is about 300 million in total for all of agriculture, and they've wasted nearly half of it here. Well, not wasted, it's bloody fraudulently been accounted for and lost. And as you'll see as I go through here, nobody's been had for it. Personal interventions by the Minister and our First Minister, Mark Drakeford, have made this being put on the back burner. And the fraud inquiry was started in 2020. And then, as you see as we go along, basically put into the long grass. When they found out that the fraudulent stuff had been done on purpose and that they were allegedly told by the Welsh Government and the Welsh Government ministers to not give the money back and invent receipts, they decided not to sack the board and then basically stop the investigation. So let's go. So, Betsi Cadwaladr Health Board. Now, if you look at this is the total spending. Up the top part here, you'll see that is wages. So if you look at rural affairs, there is bugger all really. But with the rural affairs wages and what they spend on everything besides wages, it's about 300 million altogether. Now, if you look on the health side at the top on the right, that's wages of all the doctors and nurses act and all that, and administrators. And if you look at the one below, that's a capital funding. Rural affairs is bugging, it's nothing, absolutely nothing. So it's about 300 million in total rural affairs. Climate change is 4.8 billion. Look what they're spending on the economy, education in Welsh language, finance, local government, health services. Climate change is basically just making everything else look like they're spending on nothing. So, economy and transport is 390 million. Climate change is 4.8 billion. But anyway, we'll go past that. Let's go on to this thing. Now, I've gone through this before. I don't want to bore you lot to death, so you can read it yourself if you stop on here. Click it and read it all. Now, this goes from the start from 22 till the end of it. The health board was put into special measures in June 15 because they had problems then, and they'd come out of it. And then June 2020, it went back into them because people found out that this fraud was going on. So, special investigators have been called into Betsi Cadwaladr University Health Board after auditors discovered at least 122 million was allegedly not properly accounted for. Audit Wales is also conducting a high-level review. The Welsh Government said it was unable to comment on an active investigation. So they've said nothing. Now, this investigation has started, and I'll just go through it quietly. Like I said, you can have a look through this yourself. So they had a firm, accountancy firm, EY, were commissioned to do the review, the accounts review, and they've raised concerns. The health board they've identified significant errors. Health board was unable to provide sufficient audit evidence to demonstrate the existence of 72 million of expenses occurred but not paid in that year. They added there was also insufficient evidence to confirm that the expenditure of 122 million occurred in that year or was properly accounted for in the correct accounting period. So they found fraud, basically. Now, Betsi Cadwaladr is this top area of Wales. It's a health board. They added there was also insufficient evidence to confirm that expenditure of 122 million occurred. Oh, sorry, I said it before. So they're carrying on looking at this. Betsi Cadwaladr is the largest NHS organisation in Wales, and it spends 1.87 billion. Now, this is a key thing. Its board, it is run by a board including executives. These are the people who are deciding all this that don't get touched. The most senior doctors, nurses, finance and personal managers are non-executive members who are people who are not medical professionals but who scrutinise and advise the work in North Wales. Now, I read through this sort of thing a few years ago as I learnt about this, and what happened was there was money that they had not spent for that year, and they contacted the Welsh Government, said we hadn't spent this money, and they were basically told, allegedly, by the Welsh Government minister and all of Welsh Labour, including Drakeford, to spend that money because we don't want to give it back. So then they invented receipts to spend it on. So they invented building work of millions of pounds for an extension on one place that hadn't even been done. Medical equipment, whatever. They were basically told to make up expenditure to get rid of it all. Like I said, I can't go through it all. This video will be too long. Plaid Cymru's health spokesperson, Run Ap Orwath, he's now the leader of Plaid Cymru, by the way, questioned whether it was possible to turn the health board around. He said, I am a firm believer now that the best thing for patients and the best thing for hard-working staff is to scrap this health board and start again. Because it's bent, really. It is bent. They're just trying to cover themselves. Now, this is going on again now. So this is 2023. This is by BBC Wales again. An investigation by accountancy firm EY said Betsi Cadwaladr wrongly accounted for millions of pounds. Welsh Conservative leader said the report was serious and the Labour government minister should get a grip of it all. Systematic cultural failings in the organisation's finance team. Sorry, I'm blur-blurring today. Its forensic accountant said the health board recorded transactions in its 2021 accounts that related to work which contractors had not yet done or medical equipment which did not arrive until months afterwards. A criminal fraud investigation into the matter was dropped earlier this year through an internal review. What happened is continuing. Now, they found all the evidence. EY accountancy firm has found all the fraud, and they know they've been caught. The Welsh Government, Senedd, Welsh Labour Government know they've been caught. The top people in this board know they've been caught, and now they're trying to hide it. So they're inventing receipts now. So they're writing receipts that don't happen. So this is... Investigators spoke to senior managers at the health board and heard they were under pressure to spend all the money given them by the Welsh Government to balance the books. But as the 2021 to 22 financial year drew to a close, the health board wrote to the Welsh Government predicting it would spend 10.2 million less than expected. The report describes how incorrect accounting entries were knowingly made to use up some of the budget not spent in 21-22 for items related to post-year expenditure or services. So they made up, basically, receipts. We have identified evidence that these postings were deliberate and that the misstatements were not limited to a single individual or team. It's a bloody disgrace, really, isn't it? Absolute disgrace. This amount of money. Even it was brought up at First Minister's questions by Andrew Artie Davis and Plaid Cymru leader Adam Price then. When questioned about it, Labour First Minister Mark Drakeford said the disciplinary procedures have been instigated by the Health Board. He added that the report was not critical in any way of Welsh Government, ministers or civil servants, and did not find any evidence or suggestion of complicity. He said the reason it cannot be published is that it would inevitably lead to identification of individuals who are now potentially subject to disciplinary procedures. So, they're hiding the names of everybody involved in case they are going to get disciplinary procedures. That's from the horse's mouth, Mark Drakeford, because he knows it's coming back to him. Now, as we go along here, you'll find out that this has been concluded. Ex-expenditure members of North Wales Health Board are flabbergasted that a fraud probe into the body has been dropped, a Senedd committee has heard. Specialist investigator concluded last month that no further action was needed after auditors discovered 120 million was not properly accounted for. So, after what Drakeford said, that people would get had when he was questioned and disciplinary procedures, they haven't had anything. That's all been dropped. NHS Counter-Fraud Wales dropped its investigation into Wales' largest health board in April. The probe followed work by accountancy and consultancy firm EY, Ernst & Young, prompted by auditors' concerns that 122 million of expenditure was not properly accounted for. BBC Wales was told last year that none of the issues that were investigated involved anyone making personal gain. But no, we don't know that. Because it was dropped, nobody's been mentioned, the money hasn't been followed. That is untrue. Now, because this investigation was dropped, we don't know where the money's gone. That is the problem. 122 million. Two of the people were sacked who've actually found out the problem in the first place. Mabon Ap Gwynfor, Plaid Cymru MS, said he understands that the report says funds were transferred from one financial year to another in a way that did not correlate with the rules at the time. So that means that they've changed these rules now so they can continue doing that. Crooks, the bloody lot of them. Absolute crooks. This is the health minister. She told the board members what to say, allegedly. And Drakeford told her what to say, what to do, allegedly. It's a big, big mess. Nobody got ad for it. Nobody lost their jobs, only them two that found out about it in the first place. It's a crooked lot. Now, as I say, if you're still with me, comment, rate and subscribe, and I'll put more of this stuff up. But that is Welsh Labour running Wales. Fraud probes into 120 million dropped even though they knew who'd done it all. So ta-da! Please comment, rate and subscribe.